On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we continue Death Metal December with Colored Sands by Gorguts. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like talking about it. Mm-hmm. This is the very special month of the year that we decide to talk about exclusively death metal. That's right. And this week, I brought Colored Sands by Gorguts to the table.
This is sort of the album where they came back together.
Yeah. Gorguts has kind of dissolved and come back together a couple of times throughout their career for different reasons each time. And this time, I think, was almost entirely a new lineup with the exception of Luke LeMay.
Right.
Their previous drummer had committed suicide in the early 2000s. And after that, Luke and the rest of the band were like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. And then sometime around 2007, 2008, Luke LeMay was doing some songwriting and was like, this needs to be Gorguts. This has got to be Gorguts right here. And so he got some other people back together, including Colin Marston.
Right, the bass player, right?
The bass player who is a very prolific music producer and has played bass and guitar in dozens and dozens of different bands, most notably Krallis, which we've discussed before as part of Black Metal January. And he's also played in the bands Dysrhythmia and Behold the Arctopus.
You know, which we need to talk about Behold the Arctopus
at some point. We should just do Behold the Arctopus.
And by the way, notice the bass sound on this album is a lot like Blackie's bass sound in Voivod. So I'm thinking, I wonder if there's a Quebecois metal bass sound.
It's possible. I didn't even do that on purpose. I just fucked it up. I didn't even do that on purpose. It's possible. Well, Colin Marston's American.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, I don't think Colin Marston is from Quebec. I think he's American.
Right, because this band is based out of Quebec, yeah.
Yes, it is. But I think a fair amount of Colin's from New York City.
Oh, okay.
But it's, they're all in the Eastern Seaboard area at this point, but they kind of all have to travel to meet up and practice and whatnot. But yeah, Colin Marston has, my goodness, he's so prolific. On this album, he uses a 6-string bass.
Sure.
And he gets a lot out of it.
There's a lot of bass guitar on this.
Oh my God. This album, we'll talk more about this later, but God, this is fucking gorgeous.
It is.
But it also so like brain melty because it's Gorguts and that's what they do best. But we'll talk more about that a bit later on. First, how have you been?
I'm doing good. I've really started to get in my stride working from home. I don't know if I want to record this in audio and put it out there, but I'm getting to the point now where I can do all the work that I need to do and get it done by 9 a.m.
I mean, hey.
And so, but my job after, they want me to be done so that other people can get on and use the equipment. So I bust my ass and I get done. And then what I do is I go upstairs, I open the laptop that I own upstairs. Yeah. I get it to the email page and just leave it there and I just
and just play
video games
around.
Yeah.
Well, because
every 5 minutes, anything? Nope. Okay.
There's so much, like when we're in the office, we have a lot of downtime.
Sure, we do.
That's just the reality of the job. We're not always going to have something to do every second of the day.
Right.
When you work in audio production, that's just how it goes.
That doesn't require a lot of busy work.
Yeah. So. And like the busy work that we do have, you can get that done in 20 minutes.
Sure.
So yeah, like for me, the first part of my morning is basically waking up. If I have some prod to do, I do that first. If I don't, I have a late breakfast and watch Taskmaster. That's what I do. And then,
Really?
hey, it's 11:30. I'll go in there and start getting ready to do my shit. And then after that, I'm doing logs.
When are you guys usually done with the Zeta to Go?
I try to be done with it at 1:30.
At 1:30? Like done with it at 1:30?
Yeah. I try to pretty much be done with it at 1:30 if I can.
Because I need to know that on Friday. I mean, I postponed that shit until I think you guys are good and gone.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm usually off of it at least by 2 because there's some times where I always get off of the Minot one at 1:30 if I can. And then if I have news or something else that I need to record I use the Botno one.
So I could be going like on a Friday afternoon. I could be doing my Saturday on.
You probably could. Yeah. And if you want to just, check with us if you're not sure, basically.
Or I could just try logging on. If it won't let me, then it won't let me. They're still using it.
That's how it works.
That's it.
But I've been doing all right. We postponed recording because I have some sort of mystery ailment that is making me just mildly dizzy all the time. Just a little bit, just a tiny bit dizzy where I close my eyes and I kind of feel like I'm on the seas.
Right.
It's not even like rough seas. It's just kind of like, I feel a little unsteady.
He's kind of got the Brown Unfaithful too. I mean,
I did. That has come and gone.
Okay.
So I last Sunday I went to a walk-in clinic. They didn't find anything wrong with me. They did some basic blood work. There was nothing up. They did the basic analog neurological tests, following fingers and looking at lights and standing with my eyes closed trying to balance, that sort of thing. Seemed to be nothing wrong. I got a COVID test on Tuesday morning. That came back negative.
Did they call you with that?
No, they text. Or at least where I went, they text you if you're negative. They call you if you're positive.
Okay.
But there were several times where I got phone calls at 7 in the evening from fucking Sanford Health wanting me to take a survey about how my experience at the walk-in clinic was. And I had a panic attack because I was receiving a phone call thinking, oh my God, it's positive.
No, just calling to ask you some questions.
Yeah. Well, and it was a machine thing too. So I hung up the first time. And then the next time I was like, all right, motherfuckers, I'll do your stupid survey. Leave me the fuck alone.
Fine.
And at the end of the survey, see, that's the thing. They bury this shit.
Right.
At the end of the survey, they're like, please press 2 if you would not like to receive calls like this in the future.
2.
Fucking 2. God damn it.
Dose.
So,
I'm going to press dose.
I'm pressing dose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know.
I'm sure you're fine.
Yeah, probably. I'm 24. I'll be okay. I'm going to get my eyes checked on Tuesday morning. So
I don't know that I've been okay since I've been 24 or several years prior.
Yeah. I don't know when the last time it was that I was truly okay, but the last time I went kayaking, I felt pretty okay.
Right on.
Yeah.
That's where you're okay. That's why there's a picture of a kayak whenever you send a text or a call.
I just like it. It's peaceful. It's nice. Nobody's trying to fucking talk to me.
I can leave. I as you may be aware, because I sent you that message the other night, season 2 of The Boys.
Oh God. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
I haven't watched the whole thing yet. I've watched most of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
it's caused me to basically forget the first season. I don't know what happened to the first season, but goddamn, the second season.
Yeah, I can't, because I didn't rewatch it. Yeah. I didn't rewatch the first season before I watched the second season. I felt pretty good going into it, remembering some of the plot threads that were hanging. But yeah, the season 2, I really enjoy it. I think it's once you get to the end, you realize that it is more building towards something than it is concluding its own thing. And like season 1 didn't have a conclusion to anything either. No. Season 1 was a massive cliffhanger.
Right.
The cliffhanger at the end of season 2 is not nearly as
cliffhangery.
Yeah, not nearly as precipitous. Would that be the right term?
Sure.
As season 1. It's not as steep. The cliff ain't as steep. It's more of a steep hill hanger.
So Oh, excuse me. We are still, looking at a third season though.
Yeah,
it has
absolutely.
to be. Yeah.
There's, I cannot see a future in which there's not a season 3 of The Boys.
Where I'm at now, I won't be too, because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody listening or if anybody's seen it. They just left a hospital,
a mental institution.
They just left, and we just found out that a female character is a bit older than
yes,
we thought she might be
previously. Yeah.
And that's where we are.
Man, fucking Anthony Starr. What a fucking actor.
You know, and did you catch at the beginning of, I can't remember, it was episode 1 or 2, he goes by Carl Urban and he hears him talk, he says, nice accent, which is funny because Carl Urban
they're both from New Zealand.
They're both from New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah. They're both from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Anthony Starr is doing an American accent, Carl Urban is doing a British accent.
Yeah. So that's sort of maybe an inside little
thing.
Yeah.
But season 2 of The Boys is great. I'm glad you're watching it. I've been watching a lot of Stargate.
Oh wow. Like rewatching.
Yeah, rewatching it. All right, no, it's not. Nothing new. It's a possibility, but I mean, that's been hanging in the air. Another Stargate series has been hanging in the air since 2008.
Sure.
So like
a while.
Yeah, it's been a long time. But I think brain completely fizzled out there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm 10 episodes into the first season. There's a lot of stuff in the first season that I don't remember ever having seen.
Really?
It's entirely possible because that came out in 1997.
Right. You were if you were watching Stargate in 1997. Yeah. That's weird because
I don't know how much of the first season stuff even got resyndicated on Sci-Fi because the first 5 seasons aired on Showtime.
Sure, and there was boobs and cussing.
Actually, there's only the boobs in the first episode. There's no there's nothing that wouldn't work on a cable channel. There's nothing that wouldn't work on really? Cable
or even basic cable. You mean?
Yeah. Like it's pretty clean. Mm-hmm. There's not really much gore to speak of. There's some stuff that's kind of gross. A lot of the stuff with the Goa'uld stuff, because there are these parasites. That's a whole thing that I can't go into. It's Stargate's a bit like Warhammer for me. But in any case, that stuff is kind of it's gross. But sure. They didn't really take too much advantage of the fact that they were on a premium network. So there's not much more nudity or violence or
I think it's because
swearing
in the 90s, even as late as the 90s, sci-fi was meant for not adults. It was if their target audience was a younger crowd, and you had to tailor it accordingly. And
Stargate always was rather campy. Mm-hmm. It knows when to take itself seriously, but it also is perfectly aware that hey, this is a kind of a silly sci-fi series based on a okay movie that came out. Which I
rewatched recently.
The Roland Emmerich movie?
Yeah, it holds up.
It's not awful.
Yeah,
as far as Roland Emmerich movies go, it's actually one of his best.
Yeah.
But
there are cheesy aspects to it.
Yeah. It's Stargate and Independence Day those are your good Roland Emmerich movies, and even Independence Day. You can criticize. At the very least, Independence Day is fun.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. So is Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate and Independence Day are fun movies, and Stargate picks up basically SG-1 picks up pretty quickly after the movie.
Yeah.
It takes place a year after the end of the movie.
Okay.
And Daniel's still on Abydos, and something happens with the Stargate, and the military brings Jack back into the picture.
I thought they nuked the Stargate at the end of the movie.
They nuked the ship.
Oh, right, because it went up into the ship. Yep. I thought the Stargate was in the ship. No, it wasn't. No. It was on a base in the ground.
Yeah, the Stargate was on a temple in the ground.
Right. Did they use the Stargate at the temple to send it to the ship?
Exactly. Because Jack didn't want to kill all the people on Abydos. They would have, died.
Mm-hmm. Even though that were his orders.
Yeah. because Jack, the important character thing about Jack O'Neill that carries over most into the series is Jack doesn't really give a damn about orders.
Sure.
Jack, like there's a mile of like there's a big difference between movie Jack O'Neill and SG1 Jack O'Neill. The first like 5 episodes, Richard Dean Anderson is kind of playing it more the way can't remember his name.
Oh my god. Snake Plissken.
Kurt Russell.
Jesus, Murphy.
Good Lord. Yeah. This happens to us every week.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, he plays it, and then like the first 5 episodes or so, more or less like Kurt Russell. And then after that is sort of like, I'm going to do my thing here. Sure. I'm going to be snarky and funny. And that's just kind of how
Richard Dean Anderson does that well.
Yeah, Richard Dean Anderson is a very charismatic guy. Sure. And so it's like he brought that to Jack O'Neill. And then you've got, instead of the other guy who played Daniel, I'm not going to even try to remember his name. Okay. The Lizard King from The Office.
You're talking about, you mean
James Spader.
Movie, James Spader, yeah.
Yeah, it's James
Spader in the movie.
It's Michael Shanks in the show.
Rubber, California.
Yeah. It's Michael Shanks in the show. He does, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember reading that the reason Michael Shanks was hired is because he did a spot on James Spader impression. And they're like, all right. Daniel becomes increasingly less and less nerdy as the show goes on, mostly because like he's been hanging out with military types and going on missions to other planets for years. And so Daniel's much less like the wispy nerd. At the end of season 10, Janiel? Yeah, like from the Auntie Donna skit. Right. At the end of the last season of SG1, Daniel is probably the most experienced out of any of them. He's like fucking jacked, and he's died and come back to life several times. Like Daniel Jackson goes in some weird directions, but God, I fucking love Stargate.
Yeah.
It's a good show. But like I said, it's campy. It knows it's campy. It knows when to take itself seriously and when not to take itself too seriously. And I appreciate it's a very self-aware show.
That's good.
There are several.
I haven't seen it, so I've seen the movie, but not.
There's several episodes specifically dedicated to making fun of themselves. For whatever reason, there is like a Hollywood producer who has this weird like mental link with Jack O'Neill, and so he has like he has like experienced a whole bunch of the missions that SG1 has been on, and he starts writing like these screenplays in the military. He's like, what the fuck? This is exactly like our ultra top secret program.
You can't do this.
But then they decide to let him bring him into the fold and let him make the show to like throw off suspicion. And so they're the Wormhole X episodes, and the episodes are entirely dedicated to making fun of the tropes of Stargate. It's like the Ember Island Players episode.
Of Avatar, right? Yeah, the second to last episode of Avatar.
It's exactly like that. I just downloaded Cyberpunk today.
Right.
I didn't get too much time to play it. I had to install a new driver very quickly because I started playing it. This has happened with both the CD Projekt Red games I've had on my PC, with The Witcher 3 and now this, where when I started playing it, textures were doing all kinds of fucking wacky things. And like I was worried that it was just the game, because Cyberpunk is not super stable right now for a lot of people.
Sure. Because it's not a finished game.
Yeah, basically. It was already supposed to come out in April.
Sure.
I can't imagine what the game would have been like if that had happened. But yeah, so I downloaded a new driver and all the texture issues went away. But I just need some more time to play with. It seems like it seems so complicated. I'm sure it'll feel a bit more intuitive once I finish with like the prologue and all the tutorials and stuff. It just seems like there's a lot to do on any given mission in so many ways. I hope it's more like you can complete a mission this way if you want to, but there's no reason you can't just like kind of go balls to the wall and shoot everything.
Sure.
So I might do that because I just do not have a good head for hacking mechanics. And it's a game called Cyberpunk. There's going to be a lot of hacking.
Of course.
But Yeah, like the hacking minigame in Fallout, fucking despise it. I hate the hacking minigame in Fallout. It's bullshit.
Right, where you try to figure the words or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's based on some like board game, but I cannot remember what that's called. But I don't like the hacking minigame in Fallout. It's fucking bullshit. But I'm also waiting. I've like been trying to upgrade my whole setup besides just my monitors and my computer. I have a new keyboard. I didn't show you that. I have a Razer Black Widow.
Nice.
It's clickety clackety mechanical keyboard.
Sure.
Very loud, but it feels so good.
It's very satisfying to play.
It's so satisfying. It's so responsive. I love it. And then I have new speakers sitting on my kitchen table. Because I don't want to dismantle everything until I get my new desk. And then over there, I have on the floor a pair of mounting arms for my monitors.
Nice. And you can put them up on the wall.
No, not on the wall. It mounts to the desk, but they are.
But they go up. Oh,
yeah.
Neat.
You can move them around. Are you
going to get maybe more monitors? You get like a quad set.
No,
awesome.
I don't want to get another I mean, I could get a third one because I'm going to put my computer on the floor. So I'll have more.
You'll have the room.
I'll have more real estate up above, but I don't think I'm going to get a third one. I didn't buy a mount with 3 arms. I bought a mount with 2 arms because I have 2 monitors.
Sure.
One of which I have to use an adapter for because it doesn't have the screws on the back. And there's also in the neck that goes down to the base. There is a screw that is hidden behind basically you need a wacky offset screwdriver. And I went to Home Depot today and they had no offset screwdrivers except for one set that was attached to a whole set of screwdrivers. That was the only, their tool section.
Right.
That was the only offset screwdriver I could see it was
you just spent $100 on a.
No, it was only $10.
Oh, really?
They're fucking cheap.
Oh.
But it was the only thing because it's just this one screw that I need to get in there to take the neck off of this monitor once I've got it sitting up above, because I can take the round base off, but then the stem that goes down to the round base is still attached to the monitor. And I'm pretty sure the screw in there, you can take that off.
Speaking of tools,
tool,
no,
Maynard,
you get stuff in the mail this time of the year because this is the time of year where stuff arrives at your house because you've ordered it and it's gifts or whatever.
Yes.
We got a package in the mail and my wife said, I don't know. My wife. She said, I don't know who this is for. It's got your name on it. I opened it up and there's a Kershaw pocket knife in there. And I said, does your brother order this and send this to our house? And is he going to come get it or what's going on here? And it took 2 days. And my sister said, hey, did you open it yet? And she sent me a message. Open what? Your knife. I said, did you send me a pocket knife? She said, yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, this is
nice
one of the nicest pocket knives I've ever had.
Yeah.
3-inch blade, very thin.
That's a nice pocket knife.
Yeah, this is the nicest pocket knife I've ever had. And I'm afraid to use it. I don't want to blemish it. But
I mean, it's what it's there for, though.
Incredibly shit, that hurt.
What did you think was going to happen?
When I poked myself in the hand with a pocket knife? I don't know.
You did, right sharp. In the middle of you saying it was very sharp, you stabbed yourself in the hand.
So as to prove my point,
and that the point of the knife was sharp.
It was.
God.
There's no blood.
There's no blood yet.
But yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Nice. See, I kind of want to be the guy that always has a really nice Leatherman.
Yeah, which I have a Leatherman as well, but the problem is that I don't have it's bulky.
Yeah,
you can't put it in your pocket.
I think the good ones always are.
Well, yeah,
a proper Leatherman is going to be kind of bulky,
right? Which I have one that I use a lot.
Yeah, my dad is always if there's something or it's God, I can't. Dad's just okay. Dad, have you got your Leatherman? Of course I do. I carry it literally everywhere.
Right.
Now I'm just thinking of Hank Hill with his WD-40 belt. There's a scene, I can't remember what it was. Oh, good job. Yeah. I can't remember what the context was, but it was he was trying to open a can of WD-40 and the cap wouldn't come off. So he reaches onto his belt and pulls out a smaller can of WD-40 and sprays it on the cap.
So he can open up the bigger can.
Closes the smaller can, puts it on its belt, opens up the bigger can. King of the Hill's great.
It is a great show.
It's a good show. You gonna bleed to death over there?
No, I'm fine.
You're good?
You're better. I feel like maybe I got some nerve
feeling
damage
woozy?
now, a little bit.
I didn't think you stabbed yourself that deeply.
No,
My goodness. All right, so Gorguts.
Gorguts, yes.
So
What's that? Oh yeah, I was getting comfy. I was backing away.
You're getting further.
I was leaning back.
I'm glad that you feel comfortable.
I do feel. Thank you.
But so Gorguts, it's Canadian, Quebecois death metal band, technical death metal, avant-garde death metal might be the best way to describe them. I have talked about it before on this show. I forced Jaron to listen to Obscura, which was also
fun to listen to. I love Obscura.
It is a fun listen. But also it was challenging for me at the time.
Sure. And it's still a challenge.
I cannot imagine him, a person who does not normally listen to metal, putting his headphones on and going, what the fuck is Kayle making me listen to?
This is the first I'm finding this out. Jaron is not necessarily a metal fan.
Oh no, that was the original conceit of the show, was like, I like metal, he doesn't. I'm gonna, bring these metal albums to him and see what he thinks. But yeah, he was not like, it didn't, not that he disliked metal, but it was just like, I haven't really listened to this before. But we were walking back from a class one night, and I was just like, hey, would you want to try this podcast idea with me? I was like, sure. And so it happened. And it's still happening, but with you.
Sure, but with me here, yeah.
With you. But yeah, they're an avant-garde death metal band that formed in 1989. So these guys have been around for a long time. They haven't been productive for all of that time, though. There's several points where they have not been recording music. After their first two albums, so there was the album Erosion of Sanity that came out. It was 1993. Death metal wasn't new anymore. And so it didn't really come out with the same amount of popularity that Roadrunner had been hoping for. And eventually the band just decided, we'll stop doing this. We don't feel like doing this right now.
Because at the beginning of death metal, there was a certain novelty to it.
Yeah, it was new.
Sure.
It was new and it was super heavy and brutal. Nobody heard anything like it before.
Right.
But like by 1993, it wasn't new anymore.
Right. I mean, there were the huge fan base.
Yeah.
But still.
Like it was hard to put out a death metal album that got the amount of attention that I think record labels would hope they would get. Like now, I mean, record labels, I don't think put a whole lot of emphasis on like, hey, this is a death metal album. It's got to do super well. They know like, it's got its fan base. It'll be, it'll do as well as it does. And if it is a surprise hit, well, good for them. But nobody's banking on this death metal album making a shitload of money. No one's banking on that. But they had started writing Obscura in 1993. It didn't come out until 1998.
Oh, wow.
When they were like, they got back together and finally decided to record and release this thing. Around 1993 is also the time, most importantly, I think, in like what makes Obscura so intriguing to me and what makes Luc Lemay such an interesting musician to me. This is the time when Luc Lemay was attending the Montreal Conservatory of Music, which if you listen to this album, you will you will be surprised to hear the midpoint of the album is 4-piece is a string quartet.
The Battle of
Chamdo or Chamdo, or I don't know. It was the capital of Tibet.
Yeah,
because this album, of course, is about Tibetan history. And, the philosophies of Tibetan Buddhism.
And can I tell you?
Did I say Buddhism?
Buddhism, yeah.
Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah.
Because, of course, why wouldn't a avant-garde death metal album be about Tibetan Buddhism?
And that, by the way, that recording is possibly one of the best stringed recordings I've heard in a long time.
Oh, it gorgeous.
Is amazing.
I imagine that was because Colin Marston produced this album. I imagine that was in his studio or I don't know that. I mean, they had part of the reason why it sounds so good is because it's actually the string quartet performing it. There are so many metal bands that have string elements in them, but it's programmed. It's keyboard is what it is. It's usually digital. You know, it's not usually an actual string quartet recorded live in a studio.
Right.
Why are you checking out your knife now?
It just occurred to me I don't want to leave blood on the... I don't want to wreck my knife.
There you go.
Okay, now we're good.
Wipe the blood on your pants.
Pants will be fine.
Yeah. But no, the recording of Battle of Shamdo is... sounds so good.
I listened to it like 3 times.
And you can
listen to the whole album twice.
Yeah. You can really tell also that it is a live recording of this performance because you can hear every little creak and every little adjustment that the musicians are making.
It is pure.
It is. Oh God, it came as such a surprise to me because it'd been a while since I had listened to this album. I don't know if I had ever actually listened to it all the way through, but like that came as such a surprise when I heard that the dun 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 dun. And I was just like, oh, they're just doing a little thing before the next song,
a lead up to
the next song, and then it kept going and it kept going, and I was
like,
like,
bigger and more amazing.
Oh my! But yeah, Luke he's a trained composer. He is a trained classical composer, and he plays violin. He plays, of course, he also plays guitar, and he's also the vocalist of the band. But there is a video. There was something going on at the Conservatory of Music where they were just having like alumni perform songs that they had wrote. And there's one that you can find online of a different orchestral piece that he wrote. And it's all very much like, I think one of his favorite composers is Krzysztof Penderecki. I presume it's pronounced Christoph. It's Polish. It's one of the most Polish names I've ever read. So there's a bunch of Z's and Y's in it, but I think it's just supposed to be Christoph. But Penderecki, it has, oh Jesus, there's a song called Threnody to the Victims of Hiroshima.
Wow.
That I was introduced to through an episode in season 3 of Twin Peaks. It is one of the most pants.
I need to get to season 3.
It is one of the most pants-shittingly terrifying pieces of music I've ever listened to. It's fucking scary. And like that's one of the pieces he's most well known for. And it's also very atonal, which fits so well into everything that Gorguts does. Because this album is not nearly as atonal as Obscura is.
Oh, no. You know, in fact, I looked and the biggest criticism of this album is that
it wasn't atonal enough.
It wasn't atonal enough. It was, it was too rooted.
It was too pretty. It wasn't ugly enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't surprisingly ugly.
Right. It felt too comfortable.
Yeah. Which I'm fine. I'm perfectly... See, I like this album because it is intriguing and so complicated and so out there and progressive, but it's also not painful to listen to.
Right.
Like
Obscura could be painful to listen to.
Obscura can be painful to listen to. This is like so much, it's more comfortable, but it's still very engaging. There's no caveman riffs on here, but it's, you're not going to get bored listening to this, but you're also not going to take off your headphones and go, oh, okay. I got to pause that for a bit.
I need a palate cleanser.
I need to go listen to something.
Britney Spears.
I need to listen to Britney Spears for a little bit.
Maybe Bop or something.
Yeah. But it's God, this is a gorgeous album.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what else to say about it other than I really like it. I do think it's kind of interesting because we will get to it in a little bit when we talk about favorite songs. But all the songs on here are written by Luc Lemay except for 2 of them. And one of them is one of my favorite songs. But first, do you think this slaps?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
This slaps, but in the sense that if you were high on acid and got slapped by somebody, I think this is the feeling. If you were super high and somebody slapped you in the face, you're like, boom.
You know, the first time I listened to this, the first time through, I thought this is really good. I really enjoy this. And then the second time I watched it, I'd finished watching Martin Scorsese's documentary about the Grateful Dead.
Really?
Yeah, and I watched because it's a series.
Yep.
And I got done watching it, and then I listened to this through that lens.
Yeah.
I went, oh fuck, this makes more sense now.
I totally get it now.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of split into two different halves, where the first half is all about the splendor, the majesty, the beauty of Tibet and its culture.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of beautiful songs.
Yes.
I mean, there's a beautiful sound to it.
At least from the lens of two people who've listened to a lot of death metal.
Yeah, yes.
If you haven't listened to a lot of death metal, you'll probably not find it particularly beautiful. But the second half, after Battle of Shamdo, which is named after, of course, the real life battle that happened. It's the capital of Tibet. This is when the People's Republic of China invaded Tibet and has remained there until this day. Then it moved on to the struggles of Tibet and its people since being taken over by the Chinese. Of course, things like monks self-immolating, and the last idea, which is the last song. I mean, a song. What is a song?
It's just an idea,
if not an idea. But the last song, which is called "Reduced to Silence," sort of plays with this idea of like plays with the idea that while it is such a beautiful and noble thing, the pacifism espoused by Tibetan Buddhism, it hasn't really helped them in the long run. You know, if this idea that maybe they're not fighting back hard enough. And I think it's just more sort of a musing on that idea rather than trying to say anything concretely about it. Because I don't know personally enough about the situation in Tibet. I know it's almost certainly not good.
Right.
But it sort of plays with a lot of the last half of the album, just plays with this idea of the struggle currently, ongoing in Tibet. But Metacritic gave it an 81. For some reason, someone at the New York Times decided to review this album. They gave it a mixed review.
Right. Those.
That was the person who said it was not.
It was too consistent.
Yeah, that it was too consistent and it was not weird enough, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Despite this being Gorguts, Gorguts album wasn't weird enough. Gorguts is interesting too because their first two albums are very meat and potatoes death metal. Erosion of Sanity and Considered Dead are very normal death metal,
straight across the board.
Yeah,
death metal.
This is just regular death metal.
Yeah.
Whereas it was Obscura. What was the next one after that? From Wisdom to Hate, and then Colored Sands. Yeah, there's From Wisdom to Hate came out in 2001.
Right, and this came out in 2013.
Yeah. Luke had been playing in some other bands, and like I mentioned earlier in the episode, he was writing some songs, and I was like, this is Gorguts stuff.
Sure.
And got some people back together, or got some new people in.
Right.
Gorguts is kind of like Death in the sense that at this point it's Luke's band.
Right.
And he's just having whoever he wants to play with him.
Right.
In the same way that Death was Chuck's band, and Chuck got whoever he thought would be the best for that album.
Has there been a roving cast of band members around Michael Ackerfeld? I mean, or is it been?
No, I think Opeth's been fairly consistent.
Are they?
I don't think it's been revolving by any means. I think there's been a fair amount of lineup changes, but I don't think it's been like a revolving door where every album that's,
like
completely
Death was
new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Death, every album was almost a completely new band, with the exception of Chuck. I think Opeth has stayed pretty consistent.
Yeah, if you saw the documentary about Death that was out recently,
it was Death by Metal, isn't it?
Yes,
the documentary name,
Death by Metal,
which is also the name of their first EP, isn't it?
Maybe.
Something. I don't remember. Anyway,
it's funny. You can see, like, when they're talking to Gene Hoglan.
Yeah,
you could just see that moment in his eyes where he's like, he's my friend, but okay, I gotta
talk about Chuck.
I guess I gotta move on. He's talking about, trying really hard but Chuck was just very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, that's wanting to keep with Death, but just having to spend time around Chuck.
Yeah,
I imagine. I have to wonder, because I've heard. I mean, I think probably as a bandmate, it was probably not super great to have him as a bandmate, but he's probably less of an asshole in general than someone like, for example,
Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, Dave. I pictured him perfectly in my head, but someone like Dave Mustaine, who is an asshole in many respects, not just as a fellow musician in a band.
We need to cover a Megadeth album on this podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
At some point.
It's great music. Dave knows. I mean, it's good music. Sure. Megadeth, I don't think, you wouldn't say Megadeth is bad.
No, there are a couple of albums that are fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big four thrash band. The only I guess I can't say the same. I don't know as much about Anthrax, because Anthrax is the one everyone forgets about.
I never forget Anthrax.
That's because you're you, though.
Yeah, I love Anthrax.
Everybody else forgets about Anthrax. Everyone but you forgets about Anthrax and other Anthrax fans.
I mean, Scott Ian was the reason I bought a guitar.
I know. I'm just saying.
It's me. You're right. It's me.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But what I'm trying to say is I can't say the same. Like Metallica and Megadeth, the quality of their output peaked early on in their career and sort of declined and plateaued ever since then. Slayer kind of just kept on doing what they were doing, and it was consistently pretty good.
Yes, although you can say with 3 of the 4 of the big 4 bands that their third album was definitely their best album. Yeah, Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, Megadeth. It was arguably their second album. That was their best album.
Yeah. But would you consider Anthrax's output to have been like consistent? Did they get better over time? Did they stay the same over time?
No. I mean, the recent couple out, like was the Satanic album they put out here recently? Worship Music. Okay. They put out the Worship Music album. I actually enjoyed that one. Okay. It was actually pretty good. I mean, the stuff that they did with John Bush. Yeah. From Armored Saint after they got rid of Joey. Yeah. I thought that stuff was mediocre at best.
I cannot remember how we got on this topic necessarily, but I don't remember. I don't remember how we were talking about how
bands have roving members
and Chuck was probably it's fairly difficult to be in a band with, but probably a more pleasant person
as a friend
outside of that than someone like Dave
as
Mustaine.
A little brother.
Yeah. Chuck was probably better to be around than Dave.
Right.
Although, I mean, especially early on, how much of the unpleasantness surrounding Dave was mostly to do with drugs and alcohol. But anyway. What is your favorite song on this record?
I think it's a toss up between Enemies of Compassion and Forgotten Arrows. I love both of those songs.
I put Forgotten Arrows down for mine. Forgotten Arrows was written by Colin Marston.
Really?
And I love the way that song ends.
Yeah. Oh.
Dom, dom, dom. There's just something about that. Oh,
and then that's the song that fades with that last note right into the battle of.
No, that's Colored Sands. That's the title track.
Oh, right.
It's Forgotten Arrows and then Colored Sands. I also wrote Colored Sands as being one of my favorites. on here. I really like that. Colored Sands is about the sand mandala, which is a tradition in Tibetan Buddhism where you make this beautiful mandala out of colored sand, and then you ritualistically destroy it.
That's why I was making that connection.
Yep.
Because the Grateful Dead also did that.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
It seems like a very Grateful Dead thing. I don't know a lot about the Grateful Dead, but what I do, talking about a sand mandala sounds very much their sort of thing. But yeah, the idea is you make something that's very elaborate and very beautiful
out of sand,
and then when you're done with it, you
wipe it away.
You don't just wipe it away. It's a very methodical. Like you pick up pieces of it individually. Like you don't just go and then destroy the whole thing.
That.
It's like it's a whole ritual to dismantling a sand mandala. And that's what the song and the album ultimately is about. Originally, Luke was thinking that the whole album would be specifically about sand mandalas, but then he was just like, he figured he'd make it about Tibet in general. But Forgotten Arrows is fucking great.
Great song.
And I mean, it's like saying, oh, it's written by Colin Marston. It shouldn't be a surprise when, for its quality, because Colin Marston does so much amazing, incredibly intricate and bizarre stuff that it's like it fits perfectly. And like, if I didn't know it was written by Colin Marston, I wouldn't have known it was.
No, because it fits on the album.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known it was anything different. And then Absconders, which is the second to last song, was written by the guitarist whose name I cannot recall.
Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, Dave Mustaine, the guitarist other than Luke LeMay. Right. Anyway, also Battle of Shamdo I just put on as a favorite song because holy fuck,
it's amazing.
It's just so cool to hear, actual like classical music that is written and recorded live, that is not recorded on a keyboard or recorded digitally or something like that.
Right.
Because, like you listen to symphonic metal, the symphony is not actually a symphony.
No symphony. No. It's apparent.
That's not an actual symphony. That's
that's a guitar.
Yeah, that's a keyboard right there.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of metal bands in general. When you hear stuff that sounds like classical, if you hear strings on a metal album, it is probably an effect. It is probably done digitally somehow.
Right.
Because it's expensive to bring in people who know how to play, bringing in multiple people playing the stringed instruments. That costs more money. But they did it because they could, because Luke LeMay is a trained composer and conductor. He knows what he's doing. But what medal are you bestowing upon this, like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
I thought about that after listening to this, like this morning.
Yeah.
Listening to it. And I thought, what medal would I give this? I don't know. Maybe if I give it another listen.
I see.
It's a gold.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been listening to this all week. I've just been putting it on while I'm working or like while I'm doing other stuff and just listening to it. And God, it's so fucking good.
Yeah. It's a very good album.
This is one of the best death metal albums I've listened to in a long time. I think one of the best death metal albums to be released in the past decade. It's great stuff. Next week, what are we thinking of doing? Because I don't think, if I look at the calendar,
next week is in 3 days.
Yeah,
so it'll be
Wednesday. It will not. Well, yeah, Wednesday the 16th. Here we go.
Right. So we'll have 2 more Death Metal December.
Well, yeah, because Wednesday the 23rd is going to be Chuckmas.
Of course.
Do
we know what album? Have we decided what album we're going to do for Chuckmas this year?
I'm not sure if we have.
Spiritual Healing last year.
Yeah, we did Spiritual Healing last year. We did Leprosy the first year.
Either human or individual thought patterns, I think would be great.
I think that's one of the two, and I think we discussed doing one of the two. I don't know which one. It's kind of a coin toss.
All right. Hey, you make the call, man.
Yeah, okay.
It's your house.
It'll be my week.
Yeah. So I'll bring the beer. You bring the metal.
I'll bring the metal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. But next week.
Next week, I thought to finally get to Harmony Corruption. I think it's
all right.
I think it's important that we talk about it.
Yes, we're going to do Napalm Death.
It was either that or Scum, but then I thought
Scum is more of a grindcore album.
It is.
Scum is not really yet a death metal album.
No.
Scum is the grindcore album, if anything.
Right.
Like that is the definitive
and that predates a lot of grindcore too. That's where a lot of grindcore heard that went, what? Can we do that? We can do that? That's a thing we can do?
Well, because early grindcore kind of wasn't a genre. It was just bands doing some weird shit every once in a while. And then some people went, what if we made the weird shit that band did our whole thing?
Yeah.
Grindcore, I don't know if grindcore really solidified into an album unto itself until 95, if that, a little bit later when you get into stuff. Of course, you have AC, but then there's Pig Destroyer and stuff like that coming into play. I can't remember when Pig Destroyer's first album came out.
It was before Prowler in the Yard. It was
Prowler in the Yard was their second or third album. Yeah. I can't remember. Anyway.
Napalm Death.
Napalm Death, Harmony Corruption. Hell yeah. An album that we had hoped to see live in concert in the city of Philadelphia.
Also Pig Destroyer. We were going to see that in Philadelphia as well.
Pig Destroyer was going to be there. Converge was going to be there. It was going to be a hell of a time.
It was going to be beer for locally made beer. But it was going to be a fucking hell of a day.
But then COVID-19.
Yeah.
Thank you, Father Nurgle. His grandpappy Nurgle decided to introduce his latest concoction.
Fucking Polish metal.
No, not that Nurgle. I'm talking about the Chaos God from Warhammer.
I know, I hear you.
It would be weird if Nurgle from Behemoth made COVID-19. That would be a shock. But hey, 2020 is not over yet.
Yeah, finding those things out wouldn't be off of the course.
Yeah. So thank you all very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast.
Check us out online.
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Twitter. You can find us there. If you just want to listen to stuff in your browser or something while you're working, there's links there to find new episodes. Otherwise, you can find us on Libsyn, subscribe to our feed.
Or YouTube even.
YouTube or, your podcast app on your iOS device. I'm suddenly becoming very Nodak.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on there.
Oh, gosh. Don't you know? Oh, jeez. Oofta. Oofta. I think oofta is perhaps the best turn of phrase to describe this year.
Oofta.
It's the easiest, quickest way to describe 2020.
Oofta.
What can you describe 2020 in one sound?
Oofta.
Oofta. Oofta. But anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to this episode. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.